We're all chasing a version of success that doesn't even know our names. We skip dinner, ignore the texts from home, and tell ourselves we'll make it up later. But here's the thing about later. Sometimes it never shows up, and by the time you realize it, the only thing you have left is a bank account and a heart full of ghosts. At 2:17 a.m., Albert was still awake, staring at a spreadsheet that refused to blink back. The city outside his window never slept, and neither did he. Sirens dragged across the night like tired ghosts. A taxi honked 3 times in a row, sharp and impatient, like it knew something Albert didn't. The glass walls of his high-rise office reflected him back. Tie loosened, eyes bloodshot, jaw tight like he was holding something in. His phone buzzed. He didn't look at it. It buzzed again. Then stopped. Albert leaned back in his chair, which cost more than most people's rent, and rubbed his face hard, like he could erase the last 18 hours. 3 empty coffee cups sat beside him. One tipped over, leaving a dark stain that had dried into the wood. He didn't remember knocking it over. The clock in the corner of his screen changed. 2:18 a.m., 1 minute gone. He exhaled slowly, but it caught halfway, like his body forgot how to finish. Somewhere far below, laughter echoed from the street. Real laughter. The kind that didn't need approval or deadlines or permission. Albert closed his eyes, just for a second, and even that felt expensive. By 6:40 a.m., Albert was already back in motion. The office lights hadn't turned off. They just dimmed for a few hours like the building itself needed a nap. He stood in the restroom, staring at himself under harsh white light, splashing cold water on a face that didn't look like his anymore. His stubble had grown uneven. His eyes looked older than yesterday. His phone lit up again. 6 missed calls, 2 from home. He flipped it over on the counter, like it might burn him. Coffee No. 1 was gone before he tasted it. Coffee No. 2 sat half drunk, forgotten during a call that ran longer than promised. By the time he reached Coffee No. 3, his hands were trembling. Not badly, just enough that the lid rattled when he set it down. Albert, we need projections by 9. Albert, the client moved the deadline. Albert, can you stay late tonight? He didn't answer with words anymore, just nods, short ones, efficient. Outside, the morning rushed past people in coats, breath visible in the cold air, walking somewhere that mattered to them. Albert watched for a second through the glass. Then his screen lit up again. And just like that, the world outside stopped existing. By noon, the office was loud in all the wrong ways. Keyboards clattered like rain hitting metal. Phones rang, stopped, rang again. Someone laughed too hard at something that wasn't funny, just to break the tension. The air smelled like burnt coffee and stress. Thick, stale, like it had nowhere to go. Albert hadn't stood up in hours. His shoulders were locked, pulled tight as wire. Every few minutes, his fingers paused mid-typing, hovering over the keys like they forgot what they were doing. Then they'd start again, faster this time, making up for lost seconds. No one had noticed but him. His inbox kept filling. New messages stacked on top of old ones. Subject lines blending into each other. Urgent. Need ASAP. He opened one. Then another. Then 5 at once. His phone lit up again beside him. Mom. He stared at it. It rang long enough to matter, then stopped. A second later, a message appeared. Call me when you get a minute. Albert let out a small breath through his nose. Not quite a laugh, not quite anything. A minute. He glanced at the clock in the corner of his screen. 12:43 p.m. He had minutes, plenty of them. And somehow, not a single one to give. By 9:12 p.m., the city had changed its face again. The morning rush was gone, replaced by neon reflections and tired footsteps. Inside the office, half the lights were off, but Albert's corner still burned bright. Too bright, his screen washed his face in a pale glow that made him look almost ghost-like. Dinner sat untouched beside him. Something in a plastic container, edges curled from sitting too long. He'd opened it once, taken a bite, then forgot it existed. His phone buzzed, a photo this time. He didn't open it right away, just stared at the notification like it was asking something of him. Finally, he tapped. It was his sister, smiling, standing next to a birthday cake. Candles already laugh-melted. A few people blurred in the background, mid-laugh. "Wish you were here," Albert swallowed. He checked the time. 9:13 p.m. He could still call. Maybe, if he kept it short. His hand hovered over the screen. Then his email pinged. Subject line, "Final changes tonight." His thumb shifted direction without thinking. The photo disappeared. The screen filled with numbers again. Outside, someone somewhere was blowing out candles. Inside, Albert blinked hard and kept typing. Albert got home at 11:38 p.m. The elevator ride felt longer than it was. Just him and the low hum of cables pulling him up, floor by floor, like something dragging its feet. When the doors opened, the hallway was empty. Too clean, too quiet. His apartment looked exactly how he left it. That was the problem. A single lamp in the corner cast a warm light that didn't reach far enough. His jacket slid off his shoulders and landed on a chair that already had two others hanging there, forgotten. On the kitchen counter, a small stack of mail leaned against a bowl he never used. One envelope had been opened, then left halfway, like someone meant to come back to it. Albert stepped closer. It was from his mother. The paper inside was creased, handled more than once. He didn't remember reading it. He picked it up, scanning the lines again. "We don't hear from you much anymore. I know you're busy. Just call when you can. Your dad asks about you every night." Albert stared at the last sentence longer than he meant to. His phone sat in his pocket, fully charged, silent. He didn't take it out. Instead, he folded the letter carefully, placed it back on the counter, and stood there for a while, doing absolutely nothing. Morning came without asking him. No alarm, no sunlight breaking through in some cinematic way. Just a dull gray leaking through the curtains and the low buzz of his phone vibrating against the nightstand. Albert didn't move right away. His body felt heavy, like it hadn't really slept. Just paused. The phone kept buzzing. When he finally reached for it, his hand missed the edge of the table the first time. He tried again, slower, like everything needed more effort than it used to. 4 new emails, 2 missed calls. Home again. He stared at it longer this time. His thumb hovered over the call button. He could picture it. His mother answering on the second ring, her voice lifting just a little when she said his name. Maybe his dad in the background, asking who it was even though he already knew. Albert pressed the screen, then stopped. His reflection caught in the black mirror of the phone, eyes tired, unfocused. He lowered it, set it back down. The buzzing stopped, and just like that, the moment passed. In the silence that followed, something felt off, not loud, not dramatic, just wrong. Like a door somewhere inside him had been left open. By midweek, the days started blending together. Albert couldn't remember what he'd done on Monday or Tuesday. It all felt like one long stretch of screens and numbers and voices talking at him instead of to him. His apartment stayed the same. The letter from his mother hadn't moved. The dishes in the sink hadn't grown, but they hadn't disappeared either. Just sitting there like quiet witnesses. A glass with a faint ring of dried water. A plate he was sure he'd rinse later. Later never showed up. On Thursday evening, he found himself standing in the living room without knowing why. His television was on volume low. Some show he wasn't watching. People laughing on screen at something that didn't land in the room. Albert looked around. There were photos on the shelf. He hadn't noticed them in a while. One of him and his sister at a beach, both sunburned and smiling too wide. Another of his parents in the backyard, his dad mid-laugh, his mom looking at him instead of the camera. Albert stepped closer. There was dust on the frames, not a lot. Just enough. He reached out, wiped one corner with his thumb. The glass cleared. The smile underneath it didn't. Friday came with a strange kind of quiet, not peaceful, just thinner. Like the week had stretched him out and left him there. Albert stayed late again. Of course he did. The office was nearly empty now. Chairs pushed in, screens dark, the hum of machines louder than any conversation. At 8:26 p.m., his phone buzzed. He almost ignored it. Almost, he glanced down. Home. Something in his chest tightened. Not sharp, just enough to make him notice, he answered. Hey. The voice on the other end wasn't his mother's. It took a second to place it. His neighbor. The one who used to wave when Albert visited years ago. Albert, it's Mrs. Collins. Silence pressed in around him, thick and immediate. There's been your father. The words didn't land all at once. They came broken, slower than they should have, like the line itself didn't want to carry them. Heart. Sudden. We tried. Albert sat down without realizing it. The room tilted, just slightly. What? He said. But it came out smaller than he meant. I'm so sorry. That was the sentence that stuck. Not the explanation, not the details. Just that. Albert looked at the clock. 8:27 p.m. 1 minute later, and somehow, everything had already changed. Albert didn't remember leaving the office. 1 second he was sitting there, phone still in his hand, and the next he was outside, the cold hitting his face like it had been waiting for him. The city moved like nothing had happened. Cars passed. People talked. Someone laughed again. Same kind of laugh he'd heard nights before. It felt wrong. He walked without direction. Just forward. His phone was still on. The call had ended, but the screen hadn't gone dark yet. His reflection stared back at him, warped slightly by the glass. His father. Albert tried to picture the last time they spoke. He couldn't. He stopped walking. Scrolled through his call history with stiff fingers. There it was, 3 weeks ago. Duration 2 minutes, 14 seconds. He tapped it, like it might open something more than just numbers. Nothing happened. His chest tightened again, harder this time. He remembered ignoring the last few calls, the ones from this week, the ones that said, home. Call me when you get a minute. Albert let out a sound, half breath, half something breaking. The street light above him flickered once. He looked at the time. 8:41 p.m. minutes was still passing, but the one he needed was already gone. The flight home felt longer than it was. Albert sat by the window, but he didn't look outside. The world below was just clouds, endless, soft, unreachable. His phone rested in his lap. Screen dark now, finally still. He turned it on, opened his messages, scrolled. There they were. Call me when you get a minute. Hey, just checking in. Your dad was asking about you today. Each one simple. Nothing urgent, nothing dramatic. That was the worst part. Albert pressed his thumb against the screen, holding it there like he could push himself back into those moments, like he could answer this time. He opened his dad's contact, stared at the name. The number was still there. Unchanged, unreachable. His throat tightened, and he swallowed hard, but it didn't help. The pressure stayed, building slow and steady. Across the aisle, someone laughed softly at a movie playing on their screen. Albert leaned back, closed his eyes, and finally, for the first time in a long while, he wasn't thinking about work. He was thinking about every second he traded away for things that didn't even remember him. The house looked smaller than he remembered. Same porch, same chipped paint on the railing. The wind chime still hung by the door, tapping softly in the breeze, like it always did. Nothing had changed, and yet everything had. Albert stood there for a second too long before knocking. The door opened almost immediately. His mother didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him, really looked, like she was trying to measure how much of him was still there. Then she stepped forward and held him tight. Albert didn't move at first. His arms stayed at his sides, like he'd forgotten how this worked. Then slowly, awkwardly, they lifted, wrapped around her. She felt smaller, or maybe he'd just been gone too long. "I called you," she said quietly, her voice breaking somewhere in the middle. Albert nodded against her shoulder, but the motion didn't mean anything. Inside, the house smelled the same: coffee, old wood, something familiar that hit harder than it should have. On the table, his father's glasses rested beside an open newspaper, like he'd just stepped away. Albert reached out, touched the frame, cold. He pulled his hand back, quick, like it burned. And that's when it hit. Not all at once, but enough. He hadn't been there. The funeral was quiet, not silent, never that. There were murmurs, soft footsteps on grass, the low hum of voices trying not to break. People came up to Albert one by one, shook his hand, said things he knew they meant, but couldn't really hear. "I'm sorry. He was a good man. He talked about you all the time." That last one stayed. Albert stood there long after most people had left. The sky was overcast, gray pressing down like it had something to say but didn't know how. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Reflex, he reached for it. Stopped for a second. His hand just hovered there. Then he pulled it out anyway. Work. Of course it was. Subject line: follow-up required. Urgent. Albert stared at it. A week ago, he would have opened it without thinking. 2 weeks ago, he might have apologized for being late. Now, he turned the phone off. Not silent, not airplane mode. Off. The screen went black. For the first time in years, it felt like he'd actually ended something. Albert looked up. The wind moved through the trees, soft but steady. Somewhere in the distance, a child laughed clear, real, alive. Minutes were still passing. They always would. But now he understood something simple, something he should have known all along. A minute isn't small. It's where life happens, and once it's gone, it doesn't come back.